Hello, class. This is Mr. Maloney. We're here for day 3 of the Chapter 34 World Today PowerPoint and lecture. So here we're on slide 54 to start. We're going to go 54 to 85 today. So part 3 here, social environmental challenges in the world today. We see global poverty, disasters, and disease. The poor in the world make up a half or more of the world's population, and they live on about $2 a day. So we're looking at the poor of the world, not like the poor of the United States. The poor of the world live on $2 a day. So that's a really, really crazy number to think about. These are people that live in developing countries. So about half of the world live in a developing country today. So as poor as you might be in the United States, you're never as poor as what those people in the developing world are. There are 1 billion illiterate people. That's 1 out of 7 people in the world cannot read. And hunger and disease is a major problem in the developing world. Moving on here to our next slide here. Causes of poverty. The gap between rich and poor nations is growing. There's been uneven progress. Like India and China have gotten richer in the developing world, but few others have. We see a debt of nations in the world and political problems. We're seeing civil wars and crime throughout the world today. Population growth is a huge issue in the world today. We have over 7 billion people in the world. 1.3 billion of these people live in China, and that is growing. They had the one family, one child law that was recently repealed, so now they're allowed to have more children in China. India is now approaching 1.2 billion, and they are anticipated to surpass China by the year 2025. So India is greatly on the rise. So India and China are hugely growing. We also see huge growth in Latin America, like Brazil and other Latin American countries are really taking off in their population growth. So the question we have is, will these resources hold? Will we have enough food and water for the world? There's a link you could click there, the Worldometer right there, to see some of the cool stats that are there. And I encourage you all to go check that out. It's a pretty cool thing to look at on the website there. So here, the next slide, 57 here. Population growth, billions of people here on the side, shows you how many, up to 7 billion on that side. And then shows you how many years, like 500,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 8,000, 6,000, up till today. So you see the curve. Like human population growth was so low for hundreds of thousands of years up until these last couple thousand years. And really, to be honest, in the last 1,000 years, the population's grown tremendously. But like from 1700 to now, we're like, 5.5 to 6 billion more people in the world in just like a few hundred years. So the Industrial Revolution's technology has changed everything. Here's another chart that shows us growing here, as you can see, from zero. Like they didn't even have 500 million people in the world until like around 1500. Then we finally hit 1 billion people in the like around 1800s. And then, now we're all the way up. By 2050, they're saying we might be around 9 billion people in the world. World population development. Again, here another chart here. You see the developing world is the lighter shade, and the brighter shade is the industrialized countries. So industrialized countries have about 1.3 billion of the 7 billion people on Earth today. And projected by 2050, they'll have that same amount of people. But the developing world is where we're growing in people. So most of the people in the world will actually be living in poverty. They'll be starving, and they'll be having a rougher life. So that's something to ponder and think about. And here's just a political cartoon showing like the Earth supporting all of these people. And there's a video you can watch here to see population growth rate. Highly encourage you to watch the 7 billion video right here. Click on this. It's really good, and it'll help you get a quick understanding of this. These are only like little minute clips. Gives you an understanding of the world's population. There's natural disasters affecting millions of people, like tsunami hit in 2004 in Thailand and 2011 in Japan. They were horrible to Earth and had a lot of casualties. Earthquakes, like 2010, there was a horrible one in Haiti. Floods, like just recently in Midland, Michigan, there was a flood. But a lot of floods happen in these developing countries, and people aren't ready for them, and they wipe out a lot of people. Droughts. The world's changing, and we just got to be ready to live in the world that we have right now. And a lot of it's caused by human interaction to what's going on in the globe today. So global diseases spread rapidly. This is a really big one, like the fear of SARS, bird flu, mad cow disease, West Nile fever, the flu. These things have killed lots of people throughout history. And now we have this COVID pandemic that we're living through today. These global diseases, because of how interdependent we are, people are traveling left and right. They can spread diseases very fast. We were very fortunate when SARS hit that people got symptoms immediately. So once they got a fever and everything, we could quarantine and keep them out. The problem with like COVID, the coronavirus here of today, is that people are able to pass us on before they even have any symptoms, and that's what's so scary. And it's highly contagious. So, and then you got HIV and AIDS epidemic in Africa, where you have 28 million plus infected in Africa, and 6,000 a day die from AIDS. So HIV is a disease that attacks your immune system, and when it goes full blown in your body, it turns into AIDS as you have no immunities left. So it's a really, really tough disease. It's really bad when it hits the developing world, because the developed world has some drug cocktails that can kind of keep it off, but a lot of people can't afford it in some of these other countries. So this shows an African map showing you where like HIV and AIDS is really, really stationed at in Africa. So they got a huge problem in Africa. Another chart showing you AIDS in Africa. Hunger and famine threaten our world due to natural disasters, overpopulation, war, lots of things that lead to this. Millions of people are forced to migrate when these things happen. Creates refugees. Refugees become, very controversial to these countries because they're forced to leave an area because of a natural disaster or overpopulation or war, or to get a better life. Like, just think, people try to come to the United States, they get stuck at a border, and there's people that don't want to let them in. But where can these people go? If you think about it, where can they go? Who's going to take these people? Immigrants' number one destination in the world is the United States. People want to come to the United States because of the hope that they'll get a better life. A lot of people are worried about immigrants coming here. They fear that, oh my gosh, our government can't afford to pay them. I don't know what the right stance is, but I can tell you this: our government has done so much since World War II that we have a war chest of money that we could throw money around if we wanted to. Like, if we wanted to give stimulus and stuff like that, I heard today that we have enough money that we could give $100 trillion out to the people of America today, and it would not cause inflation. So that's how powerful our actual economy is. Illegal immigration is a very hot topic, and building a wall and that kind of stuff has been a really hot topic in the United States recently. And here is pictures of a wall. And this is before Donald Trump. There is a wall. It's not a permanent, and it's not everywhere, but there is a wall built in many areas. There's a lot of places we don't have a wall because there's not places for people to come there. They'd be going through like a desert. And there's not like cities for 50 miles on either side. So people really aren't worried about people going around the wall there. But they built walls in places where there's a heavy population and people would want to try to come over, maybe illegally. Now to human rights. Human rights. All people are entitled to basic rights without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political, or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. The 1975 Helsinki Accords, nations signed to guarantee human rights to citizens. So here's a slide here just showing you human rights. Everybody's entitled to a good life, whether you live in a developing nation, a developed nation. Try to look at it as everybody deserves a chance. So, role of the world community: human rights violations still going on today. China, India, Bosnia, Africa, those countries are taking away human rights. Protecting children, 2005 United Nations report. Half of the world's kids suffer in poverty, armed conflict, or AIDS. Child labor in India, Asia, and Africa. We see kids working at very young ages there. In 1989, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child developed rules for worldwide how old kids could work and what they could do, trying to protect kids, trying to make sure that they get schooling. We see illiteracy in developing nations as a big issue. Like kids can't read in certain countries. Like these developing world, they go to work and they don't go to school. And here's a map of places where there's serious issues with working children. I'd really like you to watch this pandemic video. I'll give you a little synopsis of what like SARS was like and some of these other diseases and how they can spread through the world very, very fast. I hope you get a good knowledge of what's going on even today. Development and the environment. Pollution threatens the environment due to overpopulation, industrialization, strip mining, oil spills, acid rain, nuclear accidents. Chernobyl 1986 and Japan 2011 were incidents where we had nuclear accidents. All these things are truly affecting our environment today. We have growing deserts, shrinking forests. We see deforestation, like shrinking rainforest in Brazil, erosion. We see global warming. There's argument whether global warming is due to us or natural cycle of Earth. Like a lot of people think it's just climate change, but most scientists say without a doubt human interaction in the world, knocking down forests and stuff like that, is speeding up the process of global warming. Most scientists think we should be in another ice age at some point, but not because of what we've done in the world today. So it shows deforestation on this one, like how we are knocking out forests. Where will this polar bear live if we keep doing this? The global temperature has been going up steadily in the last 100 years, looking at this chart. And these next few slides here, they talk about the global warming. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can study them on your PowerPoint and see how the burning of fuels, fossil fuels, and greenhouse gases have contributed to global warming. And then these pictures will show you, like, look at the glacier of 2005 versus 100 years ago. Like, we had more snow, we had more ice caps in the world. We are melting our fresh water, and it's really having an impact on the world today. So if we're not careful, this is what could be like New York City or a major city today. They'll be all flooded and underwater. So, and then finally here, final slide here. Click on this video. Watch this climate change video here today. It will really give you an impact on how you feel about what's going on in our world today. So that's it for day 3, and we'll get some more videos for day 4, and then day 5 will be out there for chapter 34.